Who were the Fox sisters? Hi, my name is Wendy Weather. I am the History Drag Queen, and welcome to Spooky History. So who were the Fox sisters? The Fox sisters were actually three sisters from Rochester, New York, who actually played a very heavy hand in modern day spiritualism. And the sisters' names were Leah, Maggie, and Catherine. But it actually only really encompasses two of them, Maggie and Catherine, otherwise known as Kate. And what Maggie and Kate did, they actually used rappings or knockings to convince people that they could communicate with spirits. So what happened is Maggie and Kate actually played a little bit of a prank on their neighbor. They saw him, they were like, oh my gosh, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, you have to see what's going on in our house. Our house is haunted, it's crazy. And so in the evening, they invited him over to their house and they played this, it's just a prank can on him. So they basically used rappings or knocks to convince their neighbor that these girls, they live in a haunted house and they can talk to it. When in reality, it was actually, I believe it was themselves, or it was actually their mother who was doing the knockings back. Or it was the other sister when the people weren't paying attention. And then word around the town got out that these girls could speak with the dead, and people were freaking out into, whoa, it got crazy at their household. So Maggie and Kate actually went off to go live with their sister Leah, who actually became their manager shortly after. The girls were able to convince and or loop Leah in on it was a prank, we don't know, it kind of got out of hand, now people think we're famous mediums. Leah was like, I smell money. Hold on, we can do something with this. So the three sisters then began to hold seances, which was a grouping of people to demonstrate that they could communicate with the dead. And the Fox sisters started to get well known for this. Now, just to preface this, a lot of people believe them and some still do. I mean, hey, you never know. Because during the time, it was before and kind of during after the Civil War, where a lot of people became pretty depressed and found solace in mediums and people that said that they could communicate with the dead. So much so that even First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln even had a seance in the White House to try to communicate with her past children. And also, Queen Victoria held one in hers because she wanted to speak to her dead husband, Albert. So Leah was like, we can do something with this. I smell money. There's money in the air. I smell it. So they actually did a demonstration at this theater. I think it was called the Coronation Hall or Corinthian Hall, I believe, to 400 people. And they did their little demonstration that Maggie and Kate could talk or speak with the dead, and even Leah. The Fox sisters became world-renowned mediums for 40 years. And then in 1888, Maggie Fox said, actually, guys, it was a prank. It was not real. I'm so sorry. We played a prank on our neighbor and it got out of hand. We got this reputation and we were like, how do we deal with this? I guess we just keep going. Yeah, she confessed 40 years later after they had this entire career of being famous mediums and sparking the entire spiritualism and everything. Ouija boards, so everything. And they were like, hey guys, it was a prank. But that's not to say that mediums or people who can communicate with the dead are not real. I personally have encountered people that know things that I have no idea they would know unless they were communicating with somebody who isn't here. I've had my own personal interactions with it. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But hey, it's all because the Fox sisters, even though they might have been a kind of prank, fake kind of trio, it opened the door to spiritualism and the study of spiritualism, and even maybe people who actually have certain tendencies and prowess to speak with the otherworldlies, kind of were able to come to the forefront. So, what do you guys think of the Fox sisters? Do you think they were just kind of crazy charlatans? Or do you think they actually did some research and opened the door for spiritualism as a whole? Put your thoughts in the comments. What is the Philosopher's Stone? Hi, my name is Wendy Weather, and welcome back to Spooky History. So what was or is the Philosopher's Stone? From the Middle Ages to the 17th century, it was the most sought after goal of any alchemist, which alchemy was actually the precursor to chemistry. So it is theorized that the Philosopher's Stone has the ability to turn any metal into a precious metal like gold or silver. It also has elixir properties where it could grant somebody, if it's mixed in like a liquid, to cure any illness, rejuvenate youth, and even give them immortality. It's also theorized that the Philosopher's Stone might not have been a stone at all. It actually might have been a specific powder or like a tincture. And so many people throughout history have tried to either create it or find it, even Isaac Newton. And actually, it's alleged a man in 1382 was able to turn lead into gold. That man is known as Nicholas Flamel. And Nicholas Flamel actually lived in Paris between the 13th and 14th century. Now, we don't actually know for sure if he was even able to legit do that, but historical records and like bank records, in 1382, Nicholas Flamel kind of randomly came into a lot of money. So was he able to turn lead into gold and put it in the bank? I don't know. So what would you guys do if you ever found the Philosopher's Stone? Me personally, I probably would like cure all the illnesses and then put money in the bank. You know what I mean? Like, say everybody first and then myself, you know? Put what you would do in the comments. The origins of fortune tellers. Hi, my name is Wendy Weather and welcome back to Spooky History. So, where did fortune telling come from? The art of fortune telling, otherwise known as divination, actually predicts or kind of proposes that they know the future or forthcoming events. By using a certain practice that they are well versed in, there's many different types of divination. But divination and fortune telling can actually be traced to around 4000 BCE. It's almost one of like the first things we know of like ancient religions. And records indicate that it actually kind of started around China, Egypt, Babylonia, and Chaldea. And there are many different forms of divination. You can use Christology like crystal balls, even tarot cards. There's also numerology and astrology as a form of divination. And I'm sure you see palmistry of people doing like palm readings. And the art of fortune telling is here to stay. I mean, it's been around for a very long time. Now me, do I particularly believe in fortune telling? Yes ma'am, 100%. I do believe that some people have the art of like reading energies and things like that and kind of foretelling things. Or at least kind of be super manifestors that they just kind of make it happen. What do you think about the art of fortune telling? Superstitions. Hi, my name is Wendy Weather and welcome back to Spooky History. Let's talk about superstitions, specifically Roman superstitions. The Roman culture actually was super superstitious. And I've done a couple videos on some of them before. Like, they thought redheads died and became vampires. They thought beans stole their souls. And a couple other things. Like, they thought if you kissed a female mule's nose, it would cure you of hiccups and allergies. They also believed someone could hurt you just by looking at you, thus kind of sparking the evil eye. They also believed that owls were actually bad omens, and that certain flowers, if you smelled them, gave you good luck, and that bees were actually a sign of good luck and good fortune. They also thought that talking about a wound or like an ailment or a disease could actually bring it upon somebody else. And last but not least, they thought, you know, whenever you're plowing the fields and both of your oxen went bathroom at the same time, girl, get out, run, the hills, go. Run. Are you superstitious? Put in the comments what good luck charms you use or what kind of superstitions that you believe in. The origins of tarot. Hi, my name is Wendy Weather, and welcome back to Spooky History. So tarot can actually be tracked down to pretty much Italy. And the earliest references to tarot were actually around 1440. And actually, tarot was just a card game. And it used the 4 Italian suits plus king, queen, jack, or knave. But it also had the 21 kind of like trump or tramp cards. And those kind of evolved into becoming the major arcana. And actually, certain families had tarot card decks that kind of showed their wealth and status. So families would have like these intricate, fancy tarot cards that they would use to play with either family members or guests. And tarot as a divination medium actually didn't come about until like the late 18th century. When researching this, I actually wasn't that shocked because I had played Scopa as a kid. And Scopa, which is also another Italian card game, the cards were kind of similar. And, the cards, they had, the wands, cups, coin, the whole thing. And I absolutely love the art of tarot. I mean, this is just one of like 8 or 9 decks that I have in my house. In the comments, have you ever tried to play the old school version of tarot? Or have you ever played Scopa? I think maybe only my Nancy Drew girlies played Scopa. The origins of tea reading. Hi, my name is Wendy Weather, and welcome back to Spooky History. So, tea leaf reading or tasteography can easily be traced to Asia, specifically China. Tea leaf reading kind of originated in the Ming Dynasty, which was from around 1386 and 1644 AD. And I believe they had a specific cup, I believe it was called Gaiwan or Gaiwan. And there were these handleless cups that, obviously don't have a lid, and they were kind of flared a little bit, that kind of helped the tea leaves clump together. And they were usually made with a very light colored porcelain. However, modern day tea leaf reading kind of began around the 17th century when China introduced tea to Europe. And the practice of tea leaf reading, if you don't know, usually an individual drinks some tea that was brewed for them by the reader, and they would drink it, and then usually down here at the bottom, clumps of tea would gather. And the reader will be able to divinate and kind of fortune tell from the shapes those tea leaves make. And to no one's surprise, tea leaf reading actually had a super big kind of surgence during the Victorian era. Due to the Fox sisters, who we've mentioned before, kind of introduced spiritualism in the Victorian era, and tea leaf reading and parts of divination came along with that. And a lot more people in Western Europe started to kind of investigate more into tea leaf reading. And I don't know about you guys, I'm not a coffee girly, I'm a tea girly. So definitely whenever I was kind of exploring different ideas of spiritualism when I was kind of younger, tea leaf reading was actually one of the very first things I kind of like gravitated toward. And I actually used to read my own tea leaves all the time. Have you ever had your tea read? Sound off in the comments. The origins of Ouija boards. Hi, my name is Wendy Weather, and welcome back to Spooky History. And I don't even want to talk about Ouija boards. I don't even want to do it. I don't even want to. But they are probably one of the most well-known iconic things other than crystal balls when it comes to like mysticism things. So Ouija is actually a talking board that was invented and distributed in the United States in 1890. And it is a board that has numbers, letters, kind of phrases that uses a planchette or a sliding pointer to use. So 2 men, one named Elijah Bond and the other Charles Kenner, was at a seance with this woman named Helen Peters. And I guess it went super crazy, and they came up with this idea of like, let's produce this kind of talking board. And very shortly after, a man named William Fuld actually bought the rights to it. And then he patented it. So Ouija boards are seen to have the capabilities or ability to communicate with the dead or otherworldly spirits. And some even believe they can open kind of energy portals from different planes of existence. I am one of those people. You will never catch me with one of those boards. And I know it's made by Parker Brothers. I get it. I understand. You won't ever catch me with one. Anyway, and there actually is this kind of weird long battle with the Ouija board, like intellectual property. So William's brother, Isaac, also had kind of a license to produce them, but then he got them revoked, trying to like undermine his brother. Like it was a whole thing. And so in, I think it was like 1920, the courts were like, hey, only William can produce these boards. Only him, nobody else. No, don't even. And then I believe William either worked or kind of had the rights like bought from him with Parker Brothers. And there are multiple stories of people communicating with otherworldly spirits using the Ouija board. So my only advice is if you do use one, always say goodbye and close the board. Because don't come crying to me when you got spooky ookies in your house because you were playing with the Ouija board. Now, I personally haven't ever used one. Have you ever used a Ouija board? Put in your Ouija board stories in the comments.